I'm here with UFC President Dana White. 3 very intriguing title fights tomorrow night. Is there one in particular that you're most interested in seeing?
Wow, when you look at the whole card, there's so many good fights, not just the top 3. You have to always go, I think, with the main event. I mean, the main event stylistically is an incredible matchup. The bad blood between these guys, if you look at the stats, their stats line up exactly the same. Colby Covington is known for unstoppable cardio, presses the pace, keeps going forward. How's Guzman going to deal with that pressure? And then I think Guzman has some things that Colby's going to have problems with, his power. And I'm really curious to see how the wrestling goes.
Yeah, I've seen a lot in the UFC in terms of title fights. I've never seen anything like this. They have the same record. Their reach is almost the same. The stats are almost like a mirror image. Can you remember a title fight like this where you've had 2 fighters this similar, where you really just have no clue what's going to happen? I've been saying to people, whoever shows up in the best state of mind that day is probably going to win.
It's true. Stylistically, these guys match up incredibly. But I thought that Guzman and Woodley matched up, pretty well too. But we saw that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I guess the big difference between those two is the volume. The volume just wasn't there with Woodley, and Woodley's also had some issues sometimes where if things don't click for him right away, he gets flummoxed and shuts down, and that happened against Rory McDonald even years ago.
And Guzman out-wrestled him too, so it was interesting. And leading up to that fight, Woodley's whole thing is, what do you do better than me? What is it that you think you do better than me? And you don't know until they fight. So we got that same scenario here. How's this going to play out when they fight? Because they match up so well stylistically.
And Jose Aldo debuting at bantamweight. Were there any concerns at all about him cutting the weight? A lot of people were looking at pictures and saying, wow, he doesn't look good, but on the scale today, he looked fantastic.
And he looked great here today, too. He told me he's never had more energy. You can tell he's pumped and has a ton of energy. He guaranteed me that he said, listen, I'm doing everything right for this fight. I'm going to make the weight, and it's all going to be good. And he looks fantastic.
And UFC 246 now. Tickets on sale in a week. This is a pretty crazy and anticipated event with Conor McGregor's return. Why did he want it at 170 pounds? I mean, I know you mentioned yesterday that it's basically a lightweight fight where they don't have to cut weight. But do you think that the public perception is going to be the same way?
As far as what?
Like in terms of them not cutting weight and that really having a bearing on the lightweight division?
No.
You don't think people will care?
I don't think anybody cares at all. I think what everybody's looking at is what Conor wants to do is fight at 170 because he doesn't believe Tony Khabib's going to happen. He thinks something's going to happen, and he wants to slide into that spot.
So that's the reason why he wants to get started right away. That's the Mystic Mac in him, wants to get in there in April.
And he wouldn't have to cut that weight twice like that. And he knew that if he offered 170, Cerrone would love that too, and Cerrone doesn't have to cut weight. And he also wants that 170 fight because he told me that I'm looking at Masvidal too.
What's your advice for Justin Gaethje? He's a little bit upset about the situation.
He's not. Okay. No, he's not. He knows what happened. He knows what happened.
Is it him turning fights down, or?
He knows what happened. Justin Gaethje knows what's going on. So, listen, if I was him, I'd say the same thing. It gets everybody talking and everything else, but Justin knows what's up.
You can't peel back the curtain a little bit and tell me what's going on?
He knows. He knows. So for me to sit here and explain to you what's going, he knows exactly what happened. But if I was him, I'd say the same thing. What he's doing, I would do the same thing. It's not stupid. It's smart.
Do you think he needs to take one more fight before he gets a title shot?
No. Listen, he's next in line. After Conor's ranked number 3 in the world. Conor didn't want to do anything until he got a Khabib fight. And we're like, you're not getting the Khabib rematch, so he's going to take this Cowboy fight. And he doesn't think that the fight's going to happen with those two, and he can slide right in and get the fight. So we'll see how this whole thing plays out.
Would you feel comfortable booking a Nick Diaz fight with Jorge Masvidal in 2020? Do you think that Nick Diaz is in the right state of mind?
No, we never even talked about that fight happening. You know what I mean? That came from a reporter, doesn't really know a lot about fighting, and kind of leading him into it. Anybody who knows anything about fighting knows that Nick Diaz, he has no interest in fighting right now. You don't go after a guy that doesn't want to fight and try to talk him into fighting. If Nick Diaz Nick Diaz has been in the fight game his whole life. If Nick Diaz wants to fight, you're not going to have to pull it out of him. Nick Diaz will let you know he wants to fight.
Right, Dana, thanks for this, and looking forward to tomorrow. 3 titles on the line, UFC 245. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.